All right, Mr. Jay Paterno, what's happening, man?
Not much. How you doing, man?
I am fantastic, living my best life down here in sunny Florida. I will say
I know you miss. I know you miss being around campus on that first day of class and just
uh,
watching the excitement return.
well, blessing and encouragement. It's like you're happy when the students go away because you have the town to yourself for the summer, but you're ready for them to come back,
Yeah.
and a lot of it has to do with the anticipation for football, which is why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So besides the fact that as many couples, when one person becomes retired, besides Kelly saying, I want you out of the house, go get a job, what was the impetus for Nittany Game Week?
Well, I think the reality is I had done a show called the Blue White Tailgate Show for a couple of years, and then the station was sold. And I looked around. I said, you know what? I can make a lot more money on this if we have our own show and we own it and we syndicate it in the whole 9 yards. So I called Tom Bradley at that point, who just finished up coaching with the Steelers, and Todd Sadowski, who I'd worked with before, and said, let's put our own show together. So last year at this time, we were like a week out from the first show, and the plane was getting ready to take off, and we were taping the wings on, so to speak, and figuring out, oh my God, what stations are we on? Where are we at? And by the end of the first, by the time we kicked off the first year, I think we had 8 stations. We were in Philly on the ABC affiliate there, Pittsburgh's Fox affiliate. So we had 8 Fox and ABC affiliates. So we really had a really good reach. And this year we added 3 more stations. So we're in 11 stations in 6 states, reaching the parts of 8 states or all of 8 states, and the homes of over 20 million people. So it's really expanded, and it's been a lot of fun to stay around it and be involved.
Yeah, I always thought, when that, just as a coach, there's certain people that are just put on earth to coach, like yourself and Scrap. But the best gig in the world is to talk about the sport that you love without taking all the arrows that are slung at you by being on the coach staff. And you have this unique knowledge. And everybody knows you and Tom Bradley, but how did you connect with Todd? Just for those who don't know Todd, who are like not in the State College area, what was the connection with Todd and his background?
Well, Todd Sadowski's been at Fox 43 in York Harrisburg for I think 20 years now, covering Penn State, and I had worked with him on a previous show, and he's really a consummate professional. I mean, Tom and I, if it were up to us, the show would probably go 3 hours and we'd be rambling about everything. And Todd kind of keeps us on point, keeps us focused. And, the hardest thing to do is remember, you do a show and you think, okay, this is no problem. We can whip this out, no problem. And then you realize when you do a half-hour show before you even have a chance to get situated, you're done. I mean, you're sitting in the studio going, okay, that segment's done, that segment's done, that segment's done. And next thing you're on to the next thing. But, and especially when you look at our format is we have an opening segment, and then we get into we do a scouting report where Tom and I get film of the opponent and talk about these are things to look for. And then your third segment is an interview with somebody nationally. We had Gus Johnson last year, Chris Fowler.
Let me stop you. Let me stop you right there, because it's almost like you're writing my question. So, because I want people to really understand how it's segmented. And the cool thing is, you've made it snackable. You've made it. It's usually 18 to 20 minutes, but they can go see the whole version on the web and see certain interviews or whatever. So you start off with what you call opening drive. Talk to me about that.
And that's kind of here we are. Here's what happened last week. Here's what we got to think about for next week. And then we have a thing called the Scrap Medal, and Tom gives out an award to an unsung hero, somebody that maybe the fans don't know. Maybe it's a defensive tackle at a critical tackle. He may have only had 1 or 2 tackles, but it may have been the tackle that won the game, or the punter, that kind of stuff. So that's your opening segment, and it kind of gets people into here's what happened. But we're on Fridays and Saturdays, so we don't want to spend too much time on what happened. We kind of hey, these are things to look for this week.
Right. Those you had mentioned the networks that you're on. Some networks you're on Friday nights, and then the others you're on Saturday morning before kickoff. Correct.
Yep. And a bunch of the Fox affiliates, including Pittsburgh, they have us on actually 9:30 Saturday morning, which leads right into the 2-hour Fox kickoff show, the big noon kickoff show. So it really makes it easy just to kind of flow there.
Right. So I do love, I think it's genius, scrap metal. Which one of you two came up with that one?
I actually think Todd Sadowski came up with that one. So I
think
Tom and I were creative enough to come up with that one. But Tom loves it. And he gets into it. He'll call and go, hey, who are we giving the scrap metal? He'll actually get into a debate about it, before we're on air. And they'll go, okay, I got to know X, Y, and Z. And I know this. He'll come up with his notes about all things he knows about the guy and where he went to high school. And, his brother played here or so-and-so played there, that kind of stuff.
Right. And I think, number one, the show, like I watch all the shows, but the scouting report, I would think, to you guys, is really like the favorite part for you. And it's as an observer who doesn't know anything about football, really, it gives the viewer a chance to get into the coach's room when they're doing, and you call it the scouting report. Talk about that.
Yeah, and so what we want to do is we hope that our fans, when they sit down at a watch party in Florida, for example, or they're in the stadium at the game, we want them to have a couple of nuggets that they can walk in and act like they know more than everybody else, even if they don't. But everybody loves to be that guy or that girl at a party goes, oh, yeah, you got to watch out for number 18 on, at Purdue or whatever the case may be. They all want to be that person, and they don't want to tell anybody how they got that knowledge. And we don't care if they tell anybody. We just want them to watch the show every week because they want that fixed. Right. But it's fun because on Sundays, just like if, when we were coaching, we're looking at film and saying, okay, here are the things that if we were getting ready to play Purdue or Wisconsin or Ohio State, whatever the case may be, these are things we got to take care of. These are the things they do really well. So we've tried to give the fans that idea and we've tried to do it in a way that doesn't insult the intelligence of people that know football, but also doesn't intimidate people that don't necessarily know. We've got to find that balance every week, and that's hard sometimes. But we really want to make it so that people can look at, explain, hey, here's why Wisconsin is good running the football, and here's how they block certain things, and here's why Ohio State scores all these points every week, and here's their receiving core, that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of fun, and it kind of puts us in the mindset of, man, if we were coaching against these guys, what would we do? Right. Now, we don't have to offer that opinion, but it still keeps it in that mindset.
No, it keeps the mind sharp with the X's and O's. So then, again, the impact interviews, you alluded to it, and that's why I stopped you, because I want to go in depth about it. So you mentioned Gus Johnson. Gus Johnson was gold. Like, I want to see dudes get knocked out.
Yes.
Quote.
Yes. As he said, soccer's a beautiful game. I've done, World Cup and Premier League soccer, but there are no consequences if you make a mistake in soccer like football. If you make a mistake in football, you get knocked out. I mean, it was really great. And one of the questions was a fan question who wanted to know, he always introduced Ohio State as the world famous Ohio State University. And his Penn State fan just drives him nuts, and wanted to know why. And he explained to us that it went back to Jesse Owens.
Yeah.
And how, like to him, that was why Ohio State is the world famous Ohio State University. And I was like, I just thought you were biased. He's like, no, that history is really important.
Well,
and I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah, the payoff on that one, and you can go to the website and see the interview. He go in depth a little bit more. He's just talking about how Jesse Owens, who went to Ohio State, goes over to the Olympics, wins all these gold medals in front of Hitler on his home turf. Yeah. And I think what Gus said was he bitch slapped the Germans. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah, I think he said Hitler. He bitch slapped Hitler. Which I was like, that might be the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, and you can't.
You know what? He did, and that's good. That's fine.
Yeah, so now, as a Penn State fan, you really can't be mad at Gus for
not for that. No.
So he totally explained that. And then another person, the Spice Adams. Another person that is just made to be in front of the camera and out there on social media. And he was telling a story about like how and you kind of alluded to it, why he really didn't do so well when he was the center.
Oh, intentionally. Yeah, Bill Kenney and I, Spice Adams, first of all, a lot of people, it's funny how many people don't know that he played pro football for 9 years and don't know that he played at Penn State because he's just taken on this persona, with his basketball guy, cream bigums and all that kind of stuff. And Spice always had that stuff in him. Like he was in high school, was really funny, could just sit in a room and entertain people. But anyway, so the guys on defense didn't think he was good enough. And so Bill Kenney said, let's take him as a center because he wasn't on all the recruiting lists. When we got him the summer before his senior year, Michigan hadn't offered him. Michigan State hadn't offered him. He was from Detroit. We found him. And so Bill and I took him as a center. We went and Bill Kenney was coaching offensive line at that time. So when he got here, he got a little taste of that defense and then decided that's where his future was. And Joe said, I think he'd be a great center because he's smart, he's low to the ground, all that kind of stuff. And Joe moved him over there and he was so unhappy. And Joe said, why can't he get the snap back to quarterback? And I said, because he doesn't want to. And Spice admitted to it. He goes, yeah, I kind of, because Joe's like, as good an athlete as he is, I think he's pulling our leg. And I go, yeah, he wants to go back. And he went back and, was picked in the first half of the second round and played 9 years and had a great career. And, it was, although I did kid him on the interview, I said, if you were still at center, you might still be playing 18, 19 years later.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. But that storyline, those are the kind of nuggets that you get. You talked to Barry Alvarez, John Schaefer, the quarterback.
You haven't mentioned Angie Everhart yet either.
I was going to say, because when the tease to Angie Everhart, I didn't realize that she had a recruitable son. And I thought that she was on campus on a recruiting visit, and I was going to really get after you. At first, I was going to do the research to see if she was married. And then I was going to say, if she was on campus.
She is currently, actually.
Yeah, if she was on campus and you didn't tell me, then our friendship was in jeopardy. But yes. It was a kind of a cool story because I guess when he was much younger, way before recruitable age, who sent him a letter to her?
When he was born, Tom had Joe send him a recruiting letter. We send these, we hear you're a great prospect or whatever. So he sent it to him when he was a kid. But, the funny thing was we had her on for Ohio State. She's an Ohio State fan. And the back and forth was pretty funny. But she was actually her high school mascot because she couldn't make the cheerleading squad.
Oh.
So she became the mascot of Firestone High School in Akron.
Right. So let me backtrack before we go to this season. What were some of the challenges of your first year other than not knowing what you didn't know?
Well, just kind of, it took us, Tom hadn't really done that kind of format before. I had done it with Todd. So we kind of hit, it took us a little while to get, not a while, but a couple of weeks to kind of really get that flow between, we know when to jump in, when Tom was going to say something, so I didn't cut him off. That took some time. And then just getting used to what the weekly schedule was like in terms of how to tighten it up. Because the first couple of weeks, we all came in with pages and pages of notes of things we wanted to say. And then you realize, after the first, that 22 minutes of content is gone before you know it. And Tom's like, I got all these notes. And I'm like, yeah, so do I. I said, this is the hard thing about a tight show like that is you really got to focus on what's important. And I think by week 4 or 5, we really had it down to a science. And now, hopefully, we can come out of the gates next week or this week, I should say. We're taping this week already, heading into the weekend of 26th and 27th. Hopefully, we're ready in mid-season form in week 1.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So now you guys, the first shows are going to start next Friday. Right. We
started 26th and 27th are the first shows.
Right. And are you kind of doing the same things? Did you take some things out and add some things for this season coming up?
Well, one of the things we're going to do is in the scouting report, we won't always focus only on the opponent. We'll show maybe 2 or 3 clips of things Penn State does well or may need to do well or things to improve upon from the week before. So that's a little bit different. We're going to do some other things in terms of we're going to throw in an interview with what we call far-flung fans. We have a guy in Italy that watches every week. There's a guy in Oman in the Middle East that watches Penn State games every week. So we're going to have some of those. fans come on and talk about, I watch it. What time of day is it on? When we play at night, that kind of stuff. So we got a lot of different. We're throwing in some different things, and but the basic format's going to be very, very similar.
Okay, so if they want to check out the show, give all the information, or if they have fan questions, which is another segment that you do, how do they get in contact?
If you go to Nittany Game Week, all one word, nittanygameweek.com, you can find the schedule, where it's on. You can also watch it if you're outside the viewing area on the show. You can watch the full episode, the full show, and then also the full interviews. Because a lot of these interviews, we get 15, 16, 18 minutes of content, and we can only use 5 to 6. So there's that whole interview is on there. And then it'll tell you, you can submit pictures of you and your friends from games. And at the end of the year, the fan favorite will get a cruise to Bermuda with the Happy Valley Cruise next year. So we got all kinds of good stuff going on. But NittanyGameWeek.com is where to go. And then Twitter, we're at Nittany Game Week, and Instagram, same thing. So you can kind of follow all kinds of, how it is these days. You got to have Instagram, you got to have Twitter, you got to have a website, you got to have a Facebook page, you got to have stuff. There's stuff I don't even know anymore. TikTok, and my kids are like, why don't you have a TikTok or Snapchat? I said, because I don't want to. Because three is enough.
Right. Understood. Well, I really appreciate
people our age get on the social media platform. Then it's no longer cool, and they all
they move on to the next thing.
They move on to the next thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the time. Good luck this season, and I know that you wouldn't take credit as I get older and I'm on the other side of this grand experiment called life. I am very intentional about thanking important people in my life, and you're one of them. Even when I was going through the dark time, there was no judgment. There was a lot of discretion. And you're an oak, my friend. I appreciate having you in my life.
BA, I can't tell you, the feeling is mutual. And it's a good thing we don't talk about other stuff.
No. This is for a family audience.
Because we had, people watching. Brian and I have had really a lot of great memories together, and a lot of positive things, in our lives have happened. Because of our friendship. It's been great.
No question.
Including the best Halloween costume ever.
Yeah. Maybe I'll post that picture for folks to see.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, like I said, good luck this coming up season. I know you guys going to knock it out apart. Tell Scrap and Todd I said hello.
Will do. Take care, man.
Yeah.